as an aspiring entrepreneur, a lot of folks underrate how significant sales is. Like it's if I've talked with folks that will, if you look at marketing, sales, operations, finance, legal, everything's important in business. But if there's one crown jewel above them all, it's sales.
Yes.
All right, folks, we're back with another episode of Big Talk about small business. And today, Mark Zweig is out hanging out somewhere. I don't know what he's doing, but he's definitely not working here with me. He's left me with with all the hard work to do, and I'll keep carrying on the show. That's just what I do, Jose. I just, I pick up Mark's slack. Even when he's here, I do it. When he's not here, I do it even more. But no, I'm just kidding. I don't know what he's doing, but he's couldn't be with us today, unfortunately. But I do have a fantastic guest here with me today. We have Jose Socorro, and I did a decent job of pronouncing your last name, didn't I?
Yes, you passed.
I passed. Great. Jose, so tell us about yourself and your experience in business and what you're doing today. And then before we started the show, you started talking about kind of your family history in entrepreneurship. I'd love for you to get that dialogue going again, because I think we have a lot of audience members out there that will appreciate that story.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. I've been a big fan of Mark for many years. Wish I had my Panama Jack hat to pay him homage. I'm sure I'll hear about that later. My name is Jose Socorro, originally from New Jersey, went to school in Southwest Missouri. Then I went back to New Jersey to help my dad with a small business in the middle of Hurricane Sandy, and going and finishing my school. And then I stayed in New Jersey for a little longer, moved to Oklahoma around 2015, met an Arkansas girl, and I had options of where I wanted to go. New Jersey was not in the deck of cards at the time, so I ended up going to Arkansas, where she's from, and it's been great ever since.
Those Arkansas girls, they'll get you, man.
They will.
They will get you. So you're from New Jersey. Your dad had a business up there, right? And
yes.
What was the business?
It was a body shop business.
Okay.
So he's originally from the Dominican Republic, moved to the States, I believe sometime in the 80s.
Okay.
And so he learned the trade from there and brought it over here. He'd been doing it for 30 plus years, probably 40 now. And one day he decided, I'm going to go into business. And he went into business with my uncle, who had a mechanic background and had worked in South Jersey for many years. So there was some rapport there. And that was about the time I was finishing up in school, in college in Southwest Missouri. And so it was interesting. I was in a different season of life, finishing up school in the political arena and really enjoying that. And then I get the call, I'm going to open a business. Okay. And I'll be there. And it was more than just, I'm going to go help my dad with the business. Obviously, entrepreneurship is lucrative. Yeah. I can make a lot of money. Yeah, the potential is great.
Yeah,
and that's absolutely fair. It's a good selling point.
Yeah.
However, there's a lot of work to it. What was interesting is I didn't get a 4-year degree. I ended up doing an associate's degree just because of the change in my majors and just the time. I didn't want to be a college dropout, so I had to find the best way to say, hey, I graduated college, and then an associate's degree is the best option, because I actually ended up working full-time my last 2 years in school.
Okay.
And so that was preparing me in a way to transition out of Southwest or Midwest life back into the Northeast life. I went into business with my dad, and there was a lot that was not per se set up.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it I had to jump in and do the LLCs, understanding what works in the state of New Jersey, the laws, the rules, the guidelines for how to sign up for a business, get a business approved, and then finding out the prerequisites and the requirements. I think there was over 60 requirements at the time.
Is this just for the body shop?
For the body shop.
Because of that industry specifically? Right.
And being that New Jersey is a heavily regulated state with all kinds of rules.
Okay.
And so it was that work. So I went to school for 4 years, but I got a 2-year degree. And here I am having to really figure out this business model.
Diving in deep.
And so I didn't really get to go to those higher level business classes to figure it out.
Yeah.
What I did know is I asked the right questions or learned how to ask the right questions. And because I like politics, it rolls into government. So you kind of like the interest of learning and figuring out the questions and how to say the right things and all. I will tell you that it was the process of getting the right equipment for the body shop and figuring out was a challenge because we wanted certain things. Like I had actually shadowed with a body shop in Southwest Missouri for about 2 or 3 weeks prior to moving back.
So did you shadow because you knew you were going to go up there and help?
Correct.
Okay, got you.
It was one of those where I found a gentleman. We met and we had 2 lunches and I went to the shop and I learned and I got all that. The operations is in the thousands just for the system and the software to estimate to work with insurance companies.
Yeah.
We didn't have anything. We had $0. And I can remember talking to my dad and going over, all right, I need this equipment. And it was over $30,000. And I was like, well, we can't afford that.
Yeah.
And we don't have the means. So this is an interesting dynamic because culturally speaking, from the Hispanic culture side, parents are always right. You just do your yes, sir, yes, ma'am. And so it was a very interesting dynamic to get him to understand, like, this is still a thing, but we have to understand that if I am talking to you about a decision or walking you through something, it's not me going against you. It's me having enough understanding and common sense to be like, this is going to put us in a pickle quickly.
Yeah.
So it was interesting working through that because we had to find creative ways for programming and licensing of software estimates for insurance companies. I mean, thankfully there was an Office Max, I believe. Yeah. So we got a simple laptop. We found an estimating software because 20 years ago they used to have these thick books. And it would have every part, every VIN number, and everything. And that's how they wrote estimates. But this software system basically did that. And then I remember having to drive 40 minutes or so just to get paint. And just red paint is so expensive. It's painful. Red paint.
Really?
And then it gets really complicated once it gets, to the tri-coats and the glossy. It gets really, really technical there. But that was interesting. That whole situation of I have to go buy the parts, get the parts. Because my dad is limited in his English.
Okay.
But he knows how to do the job. He's great.
He's an excellent tradesman. Right?
And he's never been a supervisor or a manager, but he's a great worker. His work speaks for itself.
Yeah.
And so, because I remember growing up, he would take me on the weekends to kind of just learn and shadow. And my least favorite part was wet sanding cars because there's an art to it.
Yeah.
And I didn't care for it because I didn't have the patience, but I learned.
Yeah.
And he's really good at it. And that body shop he did was how he got my sisters and I through school, helped us get to college, and afforded us vacations and all that, not being American born. So I'm really thankful for all that. But it was just interesting how you learn quickly how to find alternatives to what you need to get the job done.
Yeah.
And of course, at that time, when you're starting out, you take just about anything and you price it just to get some revenue. Because I could remember looking at the bank account and it stayed at a certain level, and it wasn't a great level, but it got things done. And at that time, there was a point where, like, Dad, you can't afford to pay me. So I ended up taking 2 part-time jobs at 2 wonderful industries, fast food. I worked at a McDonald's and a Chick-fil-A. And I'll tell you, there's a lot I learned at McDonald's. They really have a good structure of teamwork, collaboration, and training. And Chick-fil-A, of course, has done a lot to where they are a standard in customer service. So I'd go work at Chick-fil-A at 5, 6 in the morning, leave. And then I also didn't tell you, I also was a high school football coach. So
at the same time?
At the same time. And I didn't think I was going to do it because my first coaching job was in Southwest Missouri at a high school. So I got, all right, I got that experience, bucket list item, said, well, let me try it again. And so I did that.
Yeah, you were getting paid though, right?
It was a stipend. It was like more of a, then you learn quickly after year 1, you just want to be a volunteer because stipends will go really quickly during tax season. And so I did that. Then at nighttime I'd work at the McDonald's, and then I would help my dad with the business. So, and it was interesting, just the conversations with the accountant and the lawyers. It was one of those like, okay, because it was my uncle and my dad. So like, okay, you're the most English speaking and most understanding one. So I'm going to talk to you and you're going to talk to them. I'm like, you got it. So I built rapport with 2 very important people, the accountant and the lawyer, and they helped us and they worked us through it. Of course, I was in college when they signed the agreement and all that with the lawyer, and the story was really not my favorite. Had I been there, I probably would have said, we can't do this.
Yeah.
But my mom told me. So my mom gave me the full scoop, and I was like, well, boy, I'm sure glad I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it was more than just going to help with the business. I think there was a higher calling, and as a person of faith, there's more to it than just the job.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of things that were happening that really helped. It was about, hey, trying to keep the family intact,
Mm-hmm.
trying to keep morale, and I hadn't been with my family because I was in school 4 years. So there was a lot of good and a lot more than just being there to help.
You really
business.
came back from school and navigated family, business, income.
And school, because I just got my
school?
associates, because I just started my bachelor's online degree program at Oral Roberts
Wow.
University at the time.
Wow.
So I barely had enough GPA to get in. So I'm a big sports guy. And, you
Yeah.
know, if you win it by this much, it counts.
Yeah, you
and
still
that's
win.
kind of me. It just a little bit. And so I was doing school and all that. And then Hurricane Sandy hit.
Mm.
That was interesting because we were about a couple miles from the Atlantic Ocean. Because
Okay.
Atlantic City is not that far,
Yeah.
about 10 minutes. And we're right by the water. So we got hit by the hurricane. And
the,
that
the
was,
body shop did.
yeah, the mechanic shop in the body shop. I mean, it got flooded.
Wow.
Basically, it was pretty strong. I remember driving the day before the hurricane. Like, it was already raining. They were
Yeah.
already closing roads. And I'm trying to figure out, how do I get all these cars out of the shop? Because we had a very high-end car in there at the time. And I'm like, all right, do you think I can get this bar to let me park all the cars there? And my dad's like, don't worry about it. And then I was like, it was worth asking. And then I made the mistake of, during the hurricane, because I was so far away from it, but during the hurricane, I thought, let me drive these streets to see how bad it is. And I learned very quickly, you should have never done that, because the water was at levels it's never been. Like, that's not any kind of rain when you're about, 5-10 miles from a hurricane.
Yeah.
Even though you're not in the middle of it, you are getting a brunt of water that you'll never, ever see. And so that was don't ever try to drive during a hurricane, even though you're like safe away. So that's a lesson learned. Please.
Got sketchy, huh?
Yeah, I got sketchy. But anyway, that was an interesting experience working through that and learning insurance and understanding.
Did you end up getting all the cars out? And
No, they ended up staying there, and we just filed claims and just
Oh, wow.
took care of it like that. Basically like that, meaning letting the process play out.
Yeah.
Because I was a one-man show, and my dad was out of town at the time.
Yeah.
So I was trying to figure out, how can I be proactive? But it ended up not working. But you don't account for a hurricane.
No.
But it was a good learning experience. Make sure that you have all types of insurances.
Yes.
And all. But
It's a big lesson. I mean, because those things happen, and if you didn't have that insurance, it would have been devastating.
it
obviously.
would have been bad. But
Yeah.
but sales was at that time, it was just, you just hope cars drop by. And my uncle had enough business, a clientele, that they would come by and they would drop him some opportunities to my dad. And I couldn't really per se be selling, only because there's competitors, established competitors, and I had so many other things going.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, when I had moved on to work to try to support myself, to be available for my dad as a consultant, I guess you can say, it was more about making sure, hey, do you have any questions on the finances? Hey, do you need to order this part? Do you have any questions? Thankfully, New Jersey is a melting pot of diversity. And so most vendors have a bilingual speaking representative, and they were a great help. And of course, it's always a plus when you have vendor forms, because you get a bit of a discount. But then there's also certain cars, makes and models that you just got to go get the OEM, and that's it. So it's just kind of interesting learning that the high-end vehicles, you can't find duplicate parts for. That's what we also learned. But I mean, it was good. It really brought my dad and I together. I mean, there were good days and there were hard days. But at the end, I was glad to have that opportunity to work with him and learn and walk him through it. I know when the business gets brought up, he'll talk about, I shouldn't have done it. I should have taken more caution. And I'm sure that he had gotten that advice, but I think it's also a good thing too, because, he's a quiet guy, good, hardworking guy. I mean, he's simple. I'm not simple like him.
Yeah.
I like to be everywhere. I mean, I DJ weddings and events on the weekends. I stay busy. And I volunteer my time. So he's definitely not that. So for him, I think it was a good thing. And I think that, that really brought contention in the family dynamics and even in my parents' marriage. But we worked it out, and at the end, we're all better for it.
So how long does the business still exist?
The business still exists, but my uncle now runs both.
Oh, okay. And how long was your dad in that business?
About 2 years.
About 2 years.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And how long were you in it when you were helping out?
I think I was there. I was there for about the whole time.
Oh, really?
The 2 years that he did it, because we ended up switching accountants because we were transitioning out. So we found someone that the county recommended to help us, not only just to exit out, but also just to better understand. And it worked out well. I think at the end of the day, my dad and uncle came to a good term on transitioning out, and their family, they grew up together. And, there was good times and hard times, but at the end of the day, they've worked through it, and then they're in a better spot now. And then there's times where, my uncle asked my dad to help out. Hey, I've got something. And so they've got that going. So it was a little rough, but we worked through it.
Yeah,
and we all came out better for it.
I'm assuming your uncle is your dad's brother then.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's kind of risky. I mean, I think that, for folks out there, that are tuning in, that might be thinking about doing a business with family members. Mark and I have talked about this a lot. It has some risk associated to it. Like, what would you say would be like one of the top or two risks associated with working with family members in a business?
I think it's the finances first. Second, with the finances, how's the business going to be divided?
Yeah.
Is it the 50-50? Is it 60-40? Because if, let's say, the person who doesn't have the capital, or we'll call it the power of the purse, maybe they're the brains.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that the family members identified. If I have you and I give you a good amount, even though I'm funding it, if you're not in it, I can't do much about it. So there's got to be lines drawn, because there were times where there was some interesting conversation and takes on, well, this is mine, or I need to charge you this. And I'm like, no, I think if you go in it with the right motives, where unfortunately maybe you do get two lawyers and you write terms out and you agree on an exit strategy, or if things get better, you do that. Because money is the biggest part. The other part is who has control, or who gets to say what if we have to make a big decision. There's gray areas is probably the best way to put it. But if you have it written down and there's a mutual agreement before you sign, that's even better. But if it's just like blind, let us just leave it in the hands of the people that we're going to pay and know it. I don't know that that's probably the best idea. Unfortunately, you can speak to this better than I do. That happens a lot more. And so unfortunately, oh, I have to do that. Oh, I didn't know that. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I want to get out of here because I don't feel really good.
Yeah, I think that the business is just so deep and complex, and there's so many things that could happen. I mean, you can have a hurricane, right? I mean, like when things like that happen, you don't know, you can't have the foresight to know all those things to mitigate. And if I was working with my brother or something, I mean, we obviously really close, but when it gets into business, there has to be those practical things, very objective, and it's hard to be objective, in a subjective relationship.
Yeah.
It's just, it just is. And if you can map out some decision making, it's funny you bring up about like the capital part. Like I recently was in a discussion with somebody, and, the good thing about capital and business, and it took me a long time to understand this, but the money can actually simplify a lot of things, right?
Yes.
And establish the equity amount, and that establishes the decision power, right? Which, if you're a startup in a business and you have an idea, the hard thing is somebody that has an idea that, and I've seen it 100 times, and I used to do it when I was younger. I was like, I got this idea. It's got so much value and so much potential. If I go talk to an investor or a capital person, and they have $10,000, but I have this idea that I think in my head's worth $1 million, and this $10,000, and I have $0, but they're going to have majority. It's like, I'm like, I'll run away from that. But the reality is that $10,000 trumps the idea, because it's actually real money, and if you're going into business with your family, cash is still king. And
100%.
Everybody's got to understand that.
I mean, I love sports.
Yeah.
Big football guy. Okay. And I can tell you right now, studying film and studying your opponent is important and crucial. I bring this up because I have to insert my likes in a way in the talk to make it make sense.
Yeah.
But for anyone that's like, how do I want to start a business or I have an idea and I want to go to someone who has the money, just watch Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Just watch. I mean, I never understood the valuation, like how you take 10,000 and it goes to $1 million. I'll learn that one day. Right now in the season of life I'm in, it's not something I have to worry about.
Yeah.
But it's important. It's really good to study all the pitches and hear what Kevin O'Leary has to say, Mark Cuban and Barbara Cotton, all those amazing individuals, because you really learn and understand quickly, okay, you have the idea, they have the money, you know you're going to give up a lot. And the problem is cash is king. And when you have to make a decision, because the investor sees you as, well, you have the idea, I like it, and it's somewhat idiot-proof, but I don't think you know how to make a decision when certain situations present themselves, and I do. You may not like it though, because because you're not familiar or you're pretty gray. Yeah. You may have second thoughts. So that's probably a good show to be like, I know they tell you go to a VC and all that, and I'm not knocking them. They all have a purpose, and they do what they need to do, and it produces good things, but if you're not really sure that you want to give up a lot of control and be told what to do, especially if you're pretty stubborn, male or female, that's maybe not the route you need to go. Yeah. Maybe you need to just save up and find a different route. But
or respect the way it goes.
Right, because it's the process. The process is not going to change. It's interesting. People try to change the process. I get it, because we're in a time now, my generation and younger, let's contest and challenge the status quo. Now I understand why when my parents or teachers told me don't do something, don't go past the line, I understand now why you don't do it, because we see a lot of people go over the line, and now we have a lot of confusion and disorientation. Yeah. But if you don't know how to answer to folks, don't do something. Don't go into I'm going to ask someone for their money, because they have the right.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely.
It's cash flow.
It is. I mean, and I think that was hard. I mean, I just remember reflecting back when I was a young entrepreneur and just not respecting that as much, about the cash, because I was working hard. I had the idea. I was in the streets really hitting it hard. And it was really hard for me to relate to somebody that, okay, if you got $1 million, but you want so much of this company I've been working on for, years, like it doesn't make sense. But you have the right as that entrepreneur to make that decision of it. Do you take it or not? But if you take it, you need to understand you just change the game. Kind of like back to your sports analogy, right? Like, I mean, it's a different quarter, it's a different situation, different scoreboard, and you have to play by that game. And because you can't go into it being frustrated, because that will just make things really really
absolutely.
So what are you doing now, Jose? What's going on?
I'm in the business of creating and providing opportunity. That's the nice way to put it.
Nice pitch, man.
Yeah. So with JamPro, I've been tasked to grow the business, selling cleaning services on behalf of the franchisees that have bought in to wanting to grow their business and create something for themselves, whether it's a new life, a new career, or just a residual income. And that's what I'm tasked with. And so I started out doing a couple of things. So when I was hired on, I was originally more of a sales operations individual in Fort Smith or rep, and then changes came up here. And so for the time being, I was tasked also support sales efforts in Northwest Arkansas, and at one time even Russellville. So that was a nice little L. Yeah, I'm in the Fort Smith area. That's where I reside. And so it was a nice little help. And then we made some changes so that I can focus more in Northwest and Fort Smith. And so it's basically supporting an office team that I work with to support customers and the franchisees, and also our parent company out of Little Rock, the Beck Davis Group. Shout out to you guys. Thank you. They've been great. The support has been great. But I've also learned the importance of, you can have good relationships and good communications with your leaders, but there's still got to be the business professionalism where you can't let the friendliness overtake, because I'm sure you hear it. Oh, we're one big family, and I've talked to some HR leaders in different industries. Like, no, that's not it. Nope. Business. I mean, the moment and the occasions present themselves and leads to the idea. And so, sure, I also look at it as being in sports. You see the coaches high five, handshake, hug the guys. And that's how I kind of am. Not with most customers. They're handshake, hello.
Yeah.
But with some of my peers, it's like a handshake, fist bump, how's it going? It's a cultural thing too. But I've had to learn how to scale that back and manage that, because that has gotten me in not so good situations in the past.
Right.
And it's some hard lessons emotionally. But
Sure.
That's the biggest thing. I'm in the business of meeting a need for the customer and also supporting a business owner that's and put an investment, but also if they do a good job and they work well with us, we want to help them grow.
Yeah.
And so everyone's different too. Managing those relationships, every franchisee has a different dynamic and they have different strengths. So it goes back to the sports part of, because Phil Jackson said it best when asked about how do you manage Dennis Rodman? Well, he interacted and approached Dennis much different than he did Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, et cetera, et cetera. So to me, that is a good lesson from a successful leader, Phil Jackson. All right. So because even though I'm responsible to grow business and all, I also have the responsibility to make sure there's a good relationship and that there's respect and trust and that they're getting a good shake.
Yeah.
And also teaching them, hey, I know you want things priced a certain way, but we're learning the market, we're understanding the customer, and this is really where we need to be. So it's also that coaching, that training and development every time you have those opportunities, because the more, because you just assume, well, I could do this for this many hours, and is that like, sure. Yeah. However, what I've learned in my time every week and month, that's not the case.
Yeah.
We've got to be able to make sure we meet them where they're at. And then with that, also just involved with groups in Northwest Arkansas as well, to just grow and learn and also give back, because Northwest Arkansas is a very, very relationship driven region, and it makes a difference who you know. You make a mistake, but if you can fix it in a timely fashion, that also goes a long way. If you don't have the relationship, or if you do. But I say relationship driven because in big cities, you would think relationships drive. Yes, but the name of the company also drives, and who you are. Here in Northwest Arkansas, even though we're growing and we're diverse and we're progressing and we're bringing a lot, there's still a functional core value, family, very cautious who you bring in your circles. That really ties into when Walmart was being started by Mr. Walt, which I'm going to do a quick pitch. Made in America is a book that everyone should be reading.
100% agree.
I love that book. I haven't read it in a while. I gave my copy to someone years ago in Springfield, and I didn't expect it back, but I see copies of it. I learned so much. Mr. Walton's story is impressive, and
should listen to audiobook's fantastically done too.
I'm just not getting into the podcast.
So you're out on podcasts.
Huh? The podcasts are more, I just accomplished that, got the badge. I listen to podcasts. The audiobooks, I'm going, that's probably maybe a 2026 goal.
Okay, gotcha.
But it's interesting. I gave the pitch on that, but with sales, everyone does it different. So on my team, we have one gentleman who's been with our Arkansas team for a long time, and he's really good and very successful. But his method, I just wasn't clicking with me, and especially the way I learn. I think it's more about my learning style, and I really you have to dumb it down. Like you have to simplify it. Like 1 + 1 = 2. I'm not ashamed. I have a master's degree, but listen, for me to learn and grasp it, you got to break it down. Yeah. Just like watching film, whether it's basketball or football. I've been in meetings where they're like 4.5 hours, and we're watching one play 20 times. Yeah. So that we understand that individual's move, what they're doing, and how we can counter it, and what we need to do to make sure if they do that we know how to A, counter it, but 2, defeat it every time we're trying to do something specific. And so podcasts weren't a thing, but I got onto this podcast from this very successful sales leader out of St. Louis. His name is Mike Weinberg. And when I listened to that podcast, he had this one gal from St. Louis that doubled her sales by over 160% in a year. I was like, all right, what does she do? Yeah. Because everybody thinks with sales, there's a trick, a secret, some magic dust, something amazing that I'm gonna do. And when it come to find out, Hannah the Hunter was her
Hannah
name.
Hannah the Hunter, huh?
She did 3 things that were basic, best practices that anybody can do. And if you do it consistently, it technically should produce. a lesson I learned last year.
What were the three?
Oh man, to be honest, it's been a minute, but no, it pertained around follow-up calls.
Yeah.
Scheduled calls. Follow-up meaning I'm going to call these certain individuals. The other part had to do more with organized, focused approaches to managing the funnel. And those are the only two that I could remember because it's been a minute. But I talk to a lot of salespeople, and that's the episode I send them. Because that one had 3 best practices that I could apply.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that I'm working on still is the prospecting. Yeah. The sitting down, because to me, if I'm sitting down, before I'm like, oh, I'm losing time. I got to be out. I got to be knocking on doors. I got to go to events. But the prospecting one, that's still what I'm wrestling with because the activity is consistent and good. But the prospecting, which again, prospecting could be defined a couple of ways, right? It could be I'm going to sit down and organize a list. Or I'm going to go somewhere, organize a list would be one, or I'm going to make phone calls. So prospecting has an open, I guess it depends how you look at it. But for me, prospecting would be organizing a list and then planning a time to call them. Yeah. But I learned a hard lesson on the importance of prospecting because, what Mike talks about in the podcast, I even bought his book because to me, it's like a playbook, like a guide, check your processes when you read the book. And then you'll know, okay, I need to fix this. And so Q4 of last year, really busy, really good. A lot of activity, good account starts, but I was really weak on the prospecting, on the new leads, keeping the funnel busy. And I went to a Jam Pro sales operations summit in Virginia, and our national sales leaders made a great point that I never heard of. There's 2 things: golden hour, 3 to 4 hours of just calling. Yeah. The other one is if you don't keep your funnel active and busy, I'll say weekly because I just got much. If I could do it daily, that's the goal, right? If you don't keep your funnel busy within the next 90 days of that month, you're going to feel it. And guess what? Q1 of this year, I was like, man. Yeah. And again, you can make 100 calls and not get anywhere, but if you get 10 responses of yes, no, maybe next time, then okay, now I'm going to target these 10 calls because I got a response. And they told me, here's what you need to do next time you talk to me. So that's the other thing, learning how to prioritize those calls. So if I make 10 calls and 3 people tell me no, not now. Not now means I'm going to call you in the future. And you're still active. I think a lot of times you call someone and they don't answer, they tell you no, and you're like, they're done. I'm like, no, they're not. They're done today. They're not done the next 90 to 120 days. And even when I lose bids, not today. We're gonna try it down the road. You know
what's funny about sales is I've noticed this with salespeople and experience myself. Like we can get it's. I think it's number one. Sales is just like a very emotional. It requires a significant amount of emotional intelligence. Yes. And there is a lot of practicality to it. Sorry, man, I forgot to turn my phone off. There is a lot of practicality to it, processes, right? Which I think we hear a lot of folks. There's books about, like you were talking about. But at the end of the day, when you recall somebody and they say not now, there's a lot of folks that would take that as a rejection, right? And then they would not understand that somebody that's wanting to buy, when they say not now, it doesn't mean that they're not interested, right? It's a lot of it has to be at the right timing, with the right person, with the right product, with, I have the right money in my bank account. I'm trying to grow my business, or whatever it is. And so to try to find a contact that is in that very moment is extremely rare and challenging, but that's what you're trying to do, right? And so, I think that when folks think about this, and you're talking about this prospecting, and you're trying to gauge, where you're really trying to understand where they're at in that timeline of making a decision. And if they say no, that doesn't mean no forever, too, right? But it does mean don't bother them for a certain period of time. Just kind of come back in at some other point down the road. But, you kind of got to gauge these ratings and these scores with these folks. And then your process is how you keep up with all that.
Correct. Right. Because there's many ways to generate the lead and get the opportunity. And so when I get told no now, it just means, okay, even though I need to with the franchise sales and the model I'm in, I need to be producing every month. So that's the biggest pressure is you got to produce and deliver. And so one thing I've learned within the last year is the sales process is more than 30, 60 days.
Yeah, man.
And so more reason to work hard on a weekly basis to get new calls in. Let's say you make 30. Not a good number, but you're making them.
Yeah.
And let's say you get maybe 5 responses.
Yeah.
Be realistic with the national average of close rates and people that'll answer your phone. Well, that wasn't good, but you made calls. And I think it's also a mindset of the consistency along with the determination that, okay, yeah, maybe I made 50 calls, I got nowhere, but it's the practice because it's going to pay off. And that's that in that book, New Sales Simplified from Mike, he talks about weapons. And I'm like, weapons, interesting. Weapons, prospecting, networking, cold calling, email blasts, LinkedIn, which when I connect with someone on LinkedIn, then I'm like, man, I want to call on their business. Hey, thank you for the connection. Yeah. And more than likely, I may try to see if they're at an event. I may even try to call, but I'm not going to solicit them my way. There's very few times I do that. And if I do, because I've heard the feedback, even from customers that deal with that, but with sales and other things, I don't want to be that guy. I want to try to be the guy like, oh, I don't know him. He seems connected. I know people he knows. I may never talk to him, but I'll connect with him and I'll send a thank you. Yeah. And sometimes I forget because there's so many or I got a lot going on. But it's utilizing those weapons, those different avenues to get the business and not harass them on LinkedIn, like is the case. But it's a simple because you think about it, when you call, you're not getting the results, but maybe you have been generating opportunities through networking events, which I do enjoy. I am a social person. Yeah. I do sleep. I promise I do sleep. Hard to believe, but I do. And I do rest when I sleep.
Second part.
Yeah. And it also helps when you have a young family because they'll keep you, those 1 or 2 in the morning. I miss you, Mom and Dad. How you doing? Right. Didn't plan for that, but we're ready. Yeah. But the different avenues, you got the networking, you've got the cold calling, you've got the prospecting, you've got the, oh, wait a minute, didn't I call on someone the year before? Right. Oh, hey. And then that's the beautiful thing about this year, as I'm going into my second year, I'm starting to get those calls. I'm like, well, that's a pretty good feeling. Yeah, for sure. Or, and you get outside help coming in. That also helps. But I also see where salespeople and businesses rely too heavily on third-party marketing efforts. Oh, yeah. And it really needs to be, you need to have a lot of options.
Yeah, there are different divisions on that. I mean, like, as a business owner, as an aspiring entrepreneur, a lot of folks underrate how significant sales is. Like it's if I've talked with folks that will, if you look at marketing, sales, operations, finance, legal, everything's important in business. But if there's one crown jewel above them all, it's sales. Yes. And the entrepreneur has to be 100% involved in the sales. I mean, in selling that product and being relentless about putting that at the very top. And I've been guilty of it myself in my businesses, even some of the ones I have right now, of not remembering on the significance of that, because you cannot achieve what you need to achieve just with marketing. You cannot do it just by having a great product. All those things matter. But the sales process and the emphasis on sales, because that's where, it solves a lot of the other problems. I mean, money will solve problems. It also creates problems, growth, right? And growth is painful, but it's better to be growing than it is to be dying and needing sales, right?
Amen to that.
And so I think that as an entrepreneur, somebody that's listening that's an entrepreneur, they're about to open up their business. I mean, what would you do as a professional salesperson, right? Like, what would be your first thing? You have nothing, a clean sheet of paper, right? You have a product idea, but what would you recommend? Like, how do you start? If I was trying to sell this coffee cup right here, what would you do?
I'm glad you didn't ask me to sell me this pen. I've been in those meetings and it's like, hey, it's insulting. It insulted my talents. It's like, okay, it's a pen and I know the practice, but it's just like, whoa. I think process is a big thing, starting a small business. And I can tell you, my leadership team, process is something they're good at and something we're growing and learning. But process is the most important. First of all, you got to overcome your fear of selling. You don't have to be an extrovert. I think when it comes to sales, you know when to talk, when to emphasize a point, and when to scale it back.
Yeah.
And just be.
So Jose, hold on a second, because you bring up processes, right? But then you went, I think, to step 2 about being a good salesperson. But on the processes part, because there's a little mystery here for maybe somebody that doesn't know sales. When you say processes, and I have this coffee cup, what do you mean by process in a sales process?
I think it's, number one, who do you want to target? Because not every customer you want to talk to.
Okay.
I think you also learn in sales, you call on a customer, you're thinking this is going to be great. And as you get to learn about them during the discovery phase, you're like, we may not be a good fit, but you learn. I think every call, whether you win or lose it, or you don't want to do it, you learn something and it makes you better. Sure. I think a process is, what am I going to do first? Okay. All right. So I've got to learn how to sell. I got to learn my product and I got to learn how to sell. But if I'm an introvert and I don't like talking to people, I have to understand, I have to operate in my strengths. I think that's another one thing too. Because you got to write out. I'm a big scripted guy. When I've been DJing for over 9 years, and everything has a beginning, a start, and a beginning, middle, and end. Yeah. And that's what you need to know.
Gotcha. That's why you jumped into that second part, because you're talking about, what you're saying, okay, I'm a solo entrepreneur, starting this coffee cup. Sales is my number one thing. First thing I need to do in sales, what's my process? And what you're actually recommending is, there's not like a templated process that's called a sales process out there.
That would be nice. Tell me if you find it, give it to me.
Yeah, right. I know. No, I mean, I think that's a good point, because I think there's a lot of people that think that there is something that they're missing. But the reality is what you're kind of saying is what is your individual process to help you have greater success? And you build that around who you are. Like you mentioned introverted, all right? But that's fine. You can be an introverted, really excellent salesperson.
Yes. I mean, I'm not introverted, but for the sake of the conversation, yeah. Because that's the thing too. I want to hit the hard part where most people think, well, salespeople are friendly and they're aggressive and pushy. There's a time and a place. They're still working on their process, but I think you got to know how you're going to go into it. And if plan A doesn't work, what's your plan B? I think that's why I love sports so much, is because you have at least 3 ways to execute a play. And if option A doesn't work, well, what is option B and C? Okay, so now I know what option A, B, and C. I know who I want to talk to. All right, what do I need to know about selling it? If something happens, you get asked a question. Well, what happens if this breaks down? Well, that's a great question. Let me look into and get back to you. So you got to have a FAQ, I guess, or a troubleshooting scenario when you're trying to sell your product. But you can't go in there, I got this great idea, this is amazing, you should do it. That doesn't tell anybody anything, and it doesn't create confidence, especially if they don't know you. But for me, even in sales and even in other things I do, I want to script out, or at least have a bullet point of what I'm going to do, so that if I get scared or something happens and I jump the gun and I go from step 1 to 4, oh, I didn't prepare for this. Well, I need to get back into rhythm and sync to get back to what I was trying to do. Because, you can speak better to this than I can, and I have some experiences. You had one way to approach a sales call. All of a sudden, there's a question out of left field or a comment, and you're like, well, I did not expect that. But then all of a sudden, you're playing defense. You're trying to get caught up, and now all of a sudden, you have to change your entire sales call just to make sure you're letting them know we're here, we're interested, but I need to figure a way to say I don't know. You can say I don't know, but saying in a way that I'm going to get an answer to you. Here we go.
And then you show up for that.
Yeah,
right.
It's got to be scripted. And I used to not be that way, like disorganized, but now I've learned through the years in life outside of sales and now in sales, you definitely want to get a cadence, but you definitely want to know what you're going to talk about, like a skeleton. Yeah, we have bones. And everything has a function and all, and you got to know your plan inside and out. Yeah. So if something does change and you lose track, you can get back to it.
That's what it's why an introvert can be an excellent salesperson, because they can An extrovert, I think, or somebody, that is a little bit more outgoing or whatever, that doesn't meet a stranger. There's a lot of value to that. That's what we see in that. And that's what I think a lot of people would think of as a salesperson, like you said. But an introvert, and I've met introverts, really excellent salespeople that are excellent at building data-backed scripts. Like, so many percentage of people do this, and that's a value proposition as to why you want to buy this coffee cup. They can dive deep in this world to where an extrovert person would never even go that route.
But I'm going to say this, extroverts, and this is where I've had to learn to get more into the data and the analytics. My time at JB Hunt, I learned a lot about sales and operations. And even though I wasn't getting new business, I was responsible to take the business that sales got and find a truck that could do it at a good rate to where the customer wins, gets what they want, but also JB Hunt as a business can keep their doors open. So finding those numbers and margins, and that taught me early that you need to be about data. You may be an extrovert, because I had a logistics job before I came on the Jam Pro, and I had a VP, 30-something year veteran in the company, and he said the devil are in the details, and you need to know your numbers better than your boss does. And that's where I encourage extroverts. You need to get on the level or in the mindset of the analytical colleagues of yours to know the numbers and know what you're doing, because you don't want to be selling not knowing. Because if you know your numbers, I'm going to say this name is illegal in Arkansas. I could literally be arrested for saying the name Nick Saban, but I'm going to say it anyway, because as a football guy, a fan, and an aspiring coach at one time, he's the model of what every coach wants to be, because he's all about process, making sure you do well. When I coach football, what I learned is that fundamentals trumps talent and skill alone. You need both. But if you have fundamentals and you know the basics and you can execute and figure out how to overcome a situation when your size is a problem or your speed, but you have the basics down, you're going to be able to run around circles around those that have just pure talent and aren't even exercised 100%. So it goes both ways, where extroverts have to be more data conscious and more particular about learning and being able to get on the level of their introverts. Introverts, on the other hand, have to know that you don't have to be outgoing, but you definitely have to know how to communicate, how to share, how to talk, because more than half of the sales folks in the Walmart vendor space are not the I'm going to have a beer and I'm going to yell at the screen kind. They're the quiet, we'll have a cup of coffee, we'll talk. And they're just as valuable as the extroverts. So they 100%. Both have to learn how to utilize each other's strengths. Yeah, they do. Because you need both.
You do, Yeah, you really do. It's like they got to, like, if you're an introvert, what's your process to help you create boxes to be more of an extrovert? If you're an extrovert, what's your process to create boxes to be more introverted with the data and the numbers? That discipline. Extroverts may not have very much discipline on the numbers and all these facts and analytics that go behind their sales process. And it's the opposite for the introverts. Because as an introvert, the ones that I've met and worked with, they do not like showing up. It does not feel good to them for exactly what an introvert is, to go to an event, shake hands, get to know people, break the ice, but you have to do that. Sales requires both sides of that. And I really appreciate that comment about the process, because if I was just starting out, the entrepreneur has so much to think about. They have, like you mentioned, talking about your story with your dad, like the LLC, the legal stuff, they getting the accounting together, getting your books together, all the regulations that you got to abide by, getting insurance. It's nothing but a spider web of all kinds of crap to do.
And I actually enjoyed that, by the way, which most people don't, but I did. So I guess I'm unique in that way.
Yeah, maybe you can get a lot of business doing that for people, because I'd probably pay somebody to do that for me.
Oh, absolutely. No, but it was fun. I mean, every job I had has taught me a lot. And even maybe some jobs don't end well, but I think there's always positives and best practices. I think having an ownership mindset, and I'll bring this up because this is one that I've enjoyed, because when I worked at Central States, they great company, great values, They have three main core values, which is act and love, own it, and can do. And the own it part is hard because if we're not responsible for it or something went wrong, but it wasn't you, but you're a part of that group, guess what own it means? Well, you know what? I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll take it, and that's how. Because when I try to put my shoes in our owner's perspective, cash flow is important, retaining accounts is important, treating the franchisees is important. Even though they're not in that day to day, think about the importance of keeping all those three things: cash flow, relationships, and retention. And you say, well, I wanted to do something, and they told me no. Well, let me think about it from their perspective. That makes a difference when you own it. And then having a can-do attitude. There's a lot of things that I do that I've done in my other job that probably aren't in the job description. I probably don't have to do, but I do it because the results is trust, great rapport, strength, and the ability to push through hard times.
Yeah.
And then act and love, that one, when you're dealing with truck drivers at times, that's a hard one because they're old enough to be your dad and grandpa. Let me tell you, they have colorful vocabulary.
Yeah.
But it's what they called for. So taking the experiences at every place I've been has helped me to be where I am with Jam Pro, where I think and act like an owner. Even though I'm an associate and I have a time frame to work from, I don't look at it like that.
Yeah.
If I think about it like as an owner, and companies that have an employee owner approach, like what they call ESOP, you can see there's a big difference.
Yeah.
When you treat it like it's your business and you put your shoes in the owner's shoes, then you're like, all right, it's fun. Yeah. It's like, because what if I were in their shoes? How would I look at it? What can I learn?
Yeah, and then for a business owner to put yourself in your team's shoes.
Yeah, and it goes both ways. And our group does that. So and we're always growing and learning. But I mean, we're very successful. We're growing. We're becoming a very well-known market across the other Jam Pros just because of the work of our ownership group as well as the operations support staff. Yeah, I mean, we're doing a lot of good things, and we have great small business owners, and we're always going to welcome more. So
yeah. Well, hey, Jose, I'm unfortunately out of time. It's crazy how fast time goes by, but we need to have you back in because I want us to dive deeper into franchising for those listeners that are out there that are thinking about getting into business or they're thinking about getting into a franchise. I think, what is the life like as a franchisee? What's the life like as a franchisor? We've talked about that a few times, and that's a really interesting conversation. So I wanted to do that. But I love our conversation today. I appreciate your story that you had that experience with your dad. I mean, man, to make it through that and to see the positivity and the things that were outcomes, that's some good awareness there and good structure. And then just the whole conversation about the sales model. I mean, hopefully that gives folks, because I have just experienced people, introvert people that have business ideas and a dream that don't allow themselves to take that step because they don't feel like maybe that they're not that personality that you see as an entrepreneur, and you don't have to be. There's been a lot of fantastic introverts out there that have been extremely successful, and I feel like that was good to hear from a professional salesperson like yourself to describe that. So it's good stuff, man.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So folks, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be back in next time. Don't forget to subscribe to our e-newsletter, to like it on the YouTube, to tell your friends about it. We're growing. It's been pretty cool. We're getting a lot more questions in about ideas for business, and franchising is one. Sales is definitely, obviously, one that we get quite a bit. So, and also the family business stuff, right? That's always a big question. Should I? I would say that a lot of folks why shouldn't you is really the first question you should ask, right? What could happen? So anyway, thank you very much. Appreciate you, Jose.
Thank you.
And thanks, everybody. It's been another fantastic episode of Big Talk about Small Business. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Big Talk about Small Business. If you have any questions or ideas for upcoming shows, be sure to head over to our website, www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com, and click on the Ask the Host button for the chance to have your questions answered on the show. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn at Big Talk About Small Business. And be sure to head over to our website to read articles, browse episodes, and ask questions about upcoming shows.